I want to talk to you guys about three things that made me a lot more money once I started like implementing them. All right. Because before I was implementing them, it was hit or miss. It was hit or miss. Sometimes it was flop city. And that's the way it goes. And it's not like that doesn't happen now. I mean, it still happens sometimes. Everybody fouls out sometimes. But these two things made a big difference for me. So I just want to talk to them. I want to talk to you guys about those things today. I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. I didn't plan this out too much. I just wanted to kind of go live here, talk at you guys here, Friday afternoon, and just wanted to talk at you a little bit. So, three things that made me more money. All right. First one is knowing my market, right? I cannot stress it enough. Um, you know, this idea of like creating a product or a service and putting it out there, it's great. But if you have a really, really good understanding of a certain group of people, right? And I mean, as good as you can get, psychographics, demographics, all of it. Like if you can really understand who you're trying to sell to, it's going to help you a lot as you're creating these products and services, right? It makes a huge difference. And like getting to know like my market, it's been a process, right? It's not something that like, I mean, you can really get to know them really, really well right when you're first getting started, right? You can do all the research, you can go to like the Facebook groups, you can go to the Reddit subreddits, you can go to the YouTube comment sections, you can go and see what they're buying on Amazon, you can go and look at the reviews for the books, you can go to the Warrior Pluses, you can go to the JV Zoos, you can go to the ClickBanks, and you can see what products are selling the most, right? And you can get a feel for that, like right when you first get into a niche. You can see where the money's going, and you can get a feel for it, and you can see who the major players are in your niche. You can see it, right? You can see all that very, very quickly. In the first couple weeks, you can figure all that stuff out. And that's great. That's great. But that is only like a part of the picture. That's not as deep of an understanding as you gain with your market once you start building a list and once you start like emailing that list fairly regularly. Um, you know, just like there's an understanding of your market, your specific market, the customer base that you're selling to, that you really only gain after dealing with them for a while. Um, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't strive to know your market right from the very beginning. You should be. Everybody should be. You're gonna make more money if you do that. That's the bottom line. Um, and I don't think it's like as hard as it used to be. Especially like with AI now. But like I wouldn't trust AI completely. I know like everybody thinks that's a cheat code. Like oh I need to learn. I want to sell these hamster cages. Let me figure out what the hamster buyers are doing. Figure out what they're all about. You know what? I don't want to mess around with all this research. I'm just going to go over to Gemini and talk to Gemini about these hamster buyers and see what it has to say. I'm not saying that's not a decent like data point, but like what I'm saying is it's not the whole picture. And like these AIs make stuff up all the time. So like to think that you're going to get all this research done like using an AI and that's going to like give you like this supreme understanding of your market is I think that's a little naive personally. I don't know that there is a substitute for in the trenches research. You got to go visit these forums. You got to go visit these subreddits. See what people are saying. See what they're complaining about. See what they're excited about. See what like the demographic looks like. Who are these people? Are these all like middle-aged dudes? Are these all like women in here? Like, how do they interact with each other? Like, how are they dealing with each other? Like, currently, I'm spending time on a particular platform I won't reveal because it's for something that doesn't really involve the scope of this video, so it doesn't matter. But I'm gonna keep that under wraps. But like I'm dealing with this platform, and what I notice is these people, they are a certain like demographic of people. They all kind of live in the same area, and what I notice is they are really mean to each other. Like there's like an ebb and a flow to it. They're kind of mean to each other. Um, so this is valuable information if you wanna sell to these people. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I don't know that you can, substitute that in the trenches research and the notes that you take, with AI. That's just what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to bash AI. I feel like I get on these live streams and I bash AI a lot. I'm not trying to bash AI. I think it's a good tool, it has its, purposes and stuff like that. Um, but I just think like in a lot of these cases with the research and stuff, I mean, I don't know that there's a substitute for just in the trenches research. So anyways, in my experience, the better I know my market, the easier it is for me to make money selling to my market. Reason being is you won't sell them crap they don't want to buy. That's the reason. You won't sell them crap they don't wanna buy, but you thought they wanted to buy, if you understand them better. If you understand the market better, you will sell them crap they actually wanna buy. If you understand the market worse, you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna try to sell them crap you think they wanna buy, but really nobody wants to buy it, right? So that's why. And then, like, the language you use on your sales page too, you know what I mean? Like, the sales copy, the way you do your copy on that sales page, is it in a language that really, like, speaks to that group of people? Because what you'll notice when you start, like, kinda infiltrating different niches is a lot of these, like, little sub niches of people, they have their own kinda lingo. Um, you know this if you're in internet marketing. There's internet marketing lingo. We use terms and little lingo. What would you call it? Slang and terms and lingo that is very specific to internet marketing and it's very specific to. And then you start hanging out with copywriters. You got lingo, copywriting lingo. You hear people talking about not just lingo, right? But people too. You got like these micro celebrities in certain niches, and copywriting. If you start hanging out with copywriters, you'll hear them talking about John Carlton. You'll hear them talking about Gary Halbert. You'll hear them talking about Gary Bencivenga. You'll hear them talking about these copywriters who are like larger than life in their world. But if you're not familiar with that world, those names won't mean anything to you. You're like, I don't even know who that is. What are you even talking about? Um, I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned Dan Kennedy, and like I've learned a lot from Dan Kennedy, and I just like for some reason I assumed everybody knew about Dan Kennedy, but this person wasn't in the marketing business space. And like they're like, who's Dan Kennedy? I don't even know who that is, man. And I was like, whoa, man, my mind was blown. And it wasn't blown because like, oh, this person's an idiot. It was blown because, like, I forgot, I forgot, like, I'm so used to dealing with people in the business world and internet marketing world, like, I just felt like everybody knew who that was. They don't. As soon as you step outside this one niche, people don't know who that is. So that's like, again, that's an example of lingo and micro celebrities and things like this that are specific to a certain niche. And if you don't know your market well enough, like you're not gonna pick up on that stuff. These are all things that can work on a sales page, okay? And these are all things that, work as far as like you figuring out what am I gonna sell to these people? Like, how does this work? Which kind of takes me into my second thing that has made me money, made me more money, and that'll make you more money if you pay attention to it, right? So the first thing is know your market, right? The second thing is know how you fit into the conversation of your market. How do you fit into the conversation of your market, right? Because if you know your market, then you know what their problems are, you know what their desires are, you know what a lot of their weaknesses are. You know what a lot of their strengths are. You know, like what their demographics are. You know what their psychographics are. You understand what their big problems are. You understand what their perennial problems are. You understand what play in the hits means. Play in the hits. It's what I like to call play in the hits. And when I say play in the hits, I mean creating a product that is basically solving a perennial problem, a problem that always exists in internet marketing. One of those problems is traffic, right? That's playing the hits. If I put out a product that teaches people how to drive traffic, to their website or to their YouTube channel or to their product sales page, I am playing the hits. I already know people are interested in that subject. All I have to do is come up with a decent USP, right? What's my unique angle? Because there's like a million products there about driving traffic. So how is mine different, right? I just need a good USP for it. Then I'm playing the hits, man. I'm golden. But the only reason I can do that so easily is because I understand my market and I know what they care about. Um, but again, that kind of circles us into that second thing. How do you fit into the conversation of your market? Like, what problem or set of problems is your business going to solve? Like, what are you going to be in charge of? Are you going to be like a generalist and you're going to be like a jack of all trades and you just like solve all the problems in this particular niche? Um, how are you niching down, man? How are you niching down? Are you only going to solve a section of the problems in this niche? Or are you only going to service a certain group of people? Yes, I solve all the problems in this niche, but I only do it for plumbers. Okay. Yes, I teach people how to build websites, but I only talk to plumbers. Okay. That's how I've niched down, right? That's an example. Like, oh, yes, I serve all the marketing problems, but I only serve restaurants. Okay. So I specialize in restaurants. So that way you niche down. It's like, yes, you understand your market, but how do you fit into the conversation of the market, right? You don't have to solve all the problems. You just have to solve a few problems really well. Or you can solve all the problems, but you only solve them for one tiny little section of the market, right? So knowing how you fit into the conversation that's happening in your market, that is something that has helped me make a lot more money too. How do I fit into the conversation of this market? I understand the market. I know what they're about. I get kind of what's going on here. And yes, it's a river. It changes a little bit. It fluctuates. But for the most part, I understand what's going on in this market. Now, how do I fit into this market? What problem am I going to solve for these people? How do I want them to see me? Right? Do I want them to see me as the copywriting guy? Do I want them to see me as like the web page builder guy? Do I want them to see me as the membership club guy? How do I fit into this market? How do I fit into the conversation that's already happening in this market? Do I want them to see me as the guy who only does high ticket stuff? Don't come at me unless you got unless you got at least $100 to spend, because I'm not the cheap low ticket guy. Okay. How do you want them to see you, right? How do you want to present yourself? Because the thing is, you control that narrative. Now, that narrative of how you fit into the conversation in your market, that's going to be decided whether you control it or not. If you don't control it, you're basically like flying down the river on a canoe and you don't have any paddle. You're just twisting out of control in chaos. I mean, is that what you want? You just want to be on a canoe, like just twisting out of control as you you know, glide on down the river. Hopefully you don't hit a waterfall or something, you know? Um, that's how it is when you don't control the narrative, right? But you have the power to implement strategy. Okay. You have the power to sit down and say, okay, look, this is my market. I know them very well. Um, how do I want to fit into the conversation of this market, right? What do I want my business to be saying? Like, how does it fit in? Like, what am I solving for these people? How do I want them to see me? You can control that narrative. And once you figure it out, like, your content can all reflect the way you want to present that narrative. Okay. So anyways, that's the second thing that has helped me make a lot more money. All right. Knowing how I fit into the conversation that's happening in my market. And then the third thing that has helped me is figuring out how to leverage my assets. And the reason I say that is because I haven't always known how to do it. Like, I haven't always been good at it. And I'll explain to you what I mean. When I started my first membership club, it was called Adventures on the River. And, the way I ran that club was I'm going to put 5 to 8 pieces of original content in this club every single month. Right. And that's how I ran it. And it was fine. It was good, and it was very novel for me at the time because I had a membership club that was bringing in money every single month on autopilot. Man, it just came in. All I had to do was be responsible for these 5 to 8 pieces of original content in there every month. and it was making me money every month. It was really cool for a while. For a while, it was cool. But I was doing other things too. I was running a full-time used book business, and I was publishing, digital ebooks on Amazon KDP, and I was doing a lot of other things. I had a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. So after a while, that 5 to 8 pieces of original exclusive content started to become like a burden for me. I started feeling like, man, God, I got to do this content. So I I I kind of came from that school of, if it works, do more of what works. I think I learned that from Dan Kennedy, but like, whatever's working for you, shut down the stuff that's not working and do more of the stuff that's working. That advice made great sense to me. So, for a while there, like, I think by 2014, I had 2 memberships going like that, that was like 5 to 8 pieces of original content in the members area, and, just exclusive content and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was good as far as like making money and everything like that. And I had several, irons in the fire, and I was making good money, but I was burnt. I was like, I was stretching myself thin, man. I was like doing a lot of stuff, and I felt like, I don't know, man. I felt like I just like had created myself like 8 jobs or something. So I literally felt like, man, I work harder than anybody I know at not having a job. That's exactly how I felt. I work harder than anybody I know at not having a job. Um, and that's how it was, man. Um, so I had to learn the hard way, is what I'm saying. So eventually I figured out, like, hey, listen, you got to be smart about the stuff you're doing, like the content that you create to advertise your websites, the content that you create for your membership clubs, inside your membership clubs, um, everything that you do that is content, everything that you do for marketing purposes or for paid content, everything that you do in business, period. You have to think about like how much energy you expend doing those things, and then you have to think about like, have I used this to its maximum capacity? Okay. Because the way I look at it, like, let's say, and this is how I look at it now. Well, let me do this the right way. I don't want to jump ahead. I jump ahead sometimes. When I'm just shooting from the hip, I'll jump ahead sometimes. I'm sorry. So anyways, yeah, so I was stretched to the max. There I was, stretched to the max. So eventually that all came to a head because I was like, I'm shutting this stuff down. I'm not doing it this way anymore. I'm gonna change the whole game up. I started Epic Conversions in 2016. I still run that business today. EpicConversions.com. You can go there and check it out. So I started that in 2016. And when I started it, I was like, I can't be doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, I got too much going on. So I said, I need the membership club. I want to have a membership club for Epic Conversions. I started Epic Conversions in March. I started the membership club for Epic Conversions called Epic Conversions Insiders Club. I started that in October, so a few months later. And when I started it, I said, man, I need to find a way to make these membership clubs and stuff that I do like not so like time intensive, right? I don't want to have such a large time investment when I'm doing this stuff. So, what I kind of decided on, and it wasn't my idea either. I learned this from studying credit card companies. And what I kind of figured out from studying credit card companies was, it kind of hit me quite by mistake, really. I was just kind of researching credit card companies and thinking about them and how they do business. And it was like, they got one product, a credit card company only has one product. It's line of credit that it offers people. But they charge the customer, they charge the person who holds the line of credit interest to have that line of credit. But then they charge the merchants, the vendors, they charge them processing fees to be able to accept the credit card. So that right there is that's a double dip, right? They have one product, but they're earning on both ends, right? They're earning from the person who holds the credit card, and they're earning from the stores that accept the credit card. And I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are genius. Okay. They're genius. And like, I know a lot of people don't like credit card companies. I know people feel like credit card companies are predatory and stuff like that. And I can respect that 100%. All I'm saying is if you look at it from a pure business and marketing standpoint, they're very, very smart at like creating extra revenue streams from one product. Like that double dip was a eureka moment for me, right? And then I started looking more into it and started thinking about it. And it was like, wow, you know, they charge annual fees to hold certain credit cards. Like it's like a status symbol, to have like a black card or whatever. And like they got these annual fees associated with having certain credit cards. So like, boom, they created a third revenue stream from the same product. And then I was like, oh wow, yeah, they figured out that some people want to pull money out of the ATM machine with their credit card. And what did they do? They said, yeah, you can do that. You can borrow against your line of credit from an ATM machine, and we're just going to charge you a fee for it. So just like that, they created a fourth revenue stream, right? And of course, they got late fees, right? If you pay your credit card bill late, boom, you get a fee. So if you start looking into the breakdown of the credit card industry and how many different revenue streams they have generated just from one product, like I think it's like 9 or 10 revenue streams just from one product. And I was like inspired by that, right? So started my um when I started my third membership club, I was like, man, what what can I do? Like, I want to start another membership club, but I only want to man, I don't want to do any extra work for it. What can I do that would like leverage work that I'm already doing? Right. So that became like the new motto for me when it came to membership clubs. And that is a motto that kind of like spread out over everything that I do. What can I leverage? How can I leverage work I'm already doing to get more bang for my buck? Right? Because this is about ROI, right? This is about return on investment. And it's not just money, it's time, it's energy. See, you got a finite amount of money that you can invest in your business, but you also got a finite amount of energy that you can invest in your business. You also got a finite amount of time that you can invest in your business. Now, money can be replenished, energy can be replenished, but time is the most valuable because you don't know how much time you have on this earth. You could be struck dead by lightning tomorrow. You just have no idea. So time is crazy valuable. So if you can get like a really good ROI on your time, and you can get a really good ROI on your energy, to me, that can be just as valuable as a good ROI on your money. Right. So that's kind of how I looked at it. So with that club, with my third club, with the Insiders Club, I was like, look, I'm already launching digital products in the market with Epic Conversions. Epic Conversions, the way I started that business plan with Epic Conversions was that I wanted to launch a digital product every month. Every month, I want to launch a digital product into the market. Right. Well, I was already launching digital products into the market. So why don't I have a discount club? I'll have an Insiders Club, and this will be a discount club. So the people who join my Insiders Club, they'll get like the product that I put out every month, they will get it. And I'll launch the products at like $15, and they will get it for like the $10.80 they pay a month for the Insiders Club. Right. So they pay $10.80 a month and they get every single product. They don't have to wait for it. They get it earlier than everybody else. So it was just like this really cool little discount club. It was a good deal for them, right? Because they got all my products. They got them cheaper than everybody else. But it was also a good deal for me because I was leveraging work I was already doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? I didn't have to do any extra work for the Insiders Club because I already was creating those products anyway. So you understand? I took a cue from the credit card industry. I double dipped, right? And you can do the same thing. You have to think about the assets that you're creating and how you might be able to leverage them to get more ROI out of them because you put your time and your energy into creating those assets. How can you get them to work for you more? I'll give you an example, another example. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a group coaching call. It's for my Epic Conversions Monthly. I got this club. I just opened it. I just started it. If you want to learn more about it, you can just go to epicconversions.com, scroll down. You'll see a link that says Epic Conversions Monthly. You can click there to find more about information about it. But I just started this club, and what it is, it's basically a paid newsletter. Every month, I put out a new uh, it comes in a PDF. It comes in a PDF, a downloadable PDF, and you can read it. It's about 50 to 80 pages in length. Every month, I cover another topic on online business and marketing and stuff like that. So um, that is what it is. It's a paid newsletter. Comes in a PDF, digital. Um, but that club, the Epic Conversions Monthly, that paid newsletter, it also has a second club attached to it, right? It's called Epic Conversions Monthly Mentorship, right? And what is that? Well, the Epic Conversions Monthly newsletter comes out once a month, all right? But what I do is I put on a group call every month, right? And tonight is my group call. It's going to be my first group call for those guys. It's going to be my first group call tonight. And you might think, oh man, so now you got to write the newsletter and you got to do a group call every month? That sounds like a lot of work. Okay. Well, you know what sometimes is hard is good ideas. Coming up with cool ideas to talk about, things that people haven't heard before and that are interesting, right? Well, the thing is, I don't want to come up with 2 separate topics every single month. I don't want to come up with something interesting to talk about in my paid newsletter and then have to come up with something else cool to talk about in my group coaching call. Why? Why would I do that? It doesn't make sense. I'm going to leverage work I'm already doing. The topic that we covered in the newsletter, okay, it happened to be something I call the 3 pillars, which is very important. But that topic that I covered in that newsletter is going to be the same topic I cover tonight when I do this call. Okay. The difference is it's going to be a live call. I can provide more insight on the stuff I talked about in the newsletter, right? And it makes perfect sense that I would do that. It's a supplemental for this month. That is the theme. That's what's happening, right? And then I run another aspect. Another thing, I had this audio newsletter that I ran for a year. 2025, I started it and I ran it for a year, and it was doing okay. You know, it was kind of underperforming a little bit. I mean, it wasn't like underperforming where I needed to shut it down because it was wasting my time, but it was underperforming in the way that it wasn't doing as well as I wanted it to be doing, like monetarily. Um, but the problem with shutting it down was, um, I liked it. I like doing the audio newsletter. It's a weekly audio newsletter, and you might think, well, what's an audio newsletter? It's basically like a premium podcast. That's basically what it is. It's a podcast that you pay money for. But I don't call it a podcast. In my mind, it's not a podcast. In my mind, it's a cross between an audio training and a podcast. It's like something in between. I call it an audio newsletter. That's just me. That's what I call it. But I don't want you to be confused. So if you don't know what an audio newsletter is, which you probably don't, it's just think about it like a podcast that you paid for. But anyways, so it's called Voicemail, and I didn't want to shut it down, but it was kind of underperforming. Didn't want to shut it down because I like doing it. I like doing it. It's like a weekly thing. It's about each issue is about an hour to 2 hours in length, and it's just me covering a topic from my really weird personal lens of strange stories and talking about movies and books and going trips to the grocery store and whatever else is on my mind. I'll pull it back around to marketing, and I'll teach from that lens. And I like doing it, man. And so I didn't want to shut it down. But the thing is, I didn't want to run 2 different membership clubs. I didn't want to do that, man. I didn't want to do it. So what I did was I repositioned Voicemail to be like a third component to Epic Conversions Monthly. So I'm going to keep on doing it, and it just becomes added value for that club. So that way I only have to worry about one club. I can still do voicemail. It's in there. It's provided as like it's basically like 3 clubs in one, because you got the paid newsletter, Epic Conversions Monthly, and then you got Epic Conversions Monthly Mentorship. Well, what's that? That's basically 3 membership clubs for one, but Epic Conversions Monthly Mentorship, what is it? I mean, I just get on a call every month with everybody, allow them access to my time, and I cover topics that I talked about in that newsletter, okay? But it's basically a second membership club. And then the voicemail audio newsletter is weekly, but I already have infrastructure in place for that. Like everything's already set up for that to be running. So there was no reason for me like to stop running something I liked running just because it was underperforming. I might as if I want to keep running it, why don't I just reposition it to this other membership club that I'm doing, and then I'll keep on running it and it'll be an added benefit to that club. That's how I looked at it. But I tell you all that just to point out the fact that those are all examples of me leveraging assets, right? I'm leveraging assets. I leveraged voicemail to add more value to Epic Conversions Monthly. I leveraged the topics and subjects that I was covering in Epic Conversions Monthly paid newsletter to create an extra membership called Epic Conversions Monthly Mentorship, right? No extra charge, right? It's just extra value for people who join the monthly newsletter, and pretty easy for me to do because I already have a topic when I show up. I'm just going to talk about the stuff I wrote about in Epic Conversions Monthly. What am I doing? I'm leveraging ideas and subject matter that I already wrote about, right? And I'm getting more out of it. Right? So by doing this stuff, you save your brain power, okay? We don't always have the most energy. We don't always have the most time. And none of us are perfect. We don't always come up with the best ideas, Sometimes our ideas suck. And like I'm just the kind of person like I don't like using AI to come up with ideas. It's not my jam. I mean, nothing against anybody who does that. I just feel like every idea that AI is going to give me is going to be derivative. It's going to be something someone else came up with, and like I just feel like I'm better off like kind of come up with my own unique perspectives on things and my own ideas. And because I take that stance, I might be slower than some people. Some people might be able to like pump out like 50 pieces of content a day and like, they can pump out like 1,000 lists on whatever topic they want because they get AI to do it for them or whatever. I don't really care. I mean, I feel like a lot of that stuff looks the same and I'd rather just, kind of do it my own way. That's how I am. Maybe that's a little too grumpy old man for you. Maybe I'm old guy yelling at clouds. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, take this how you want to take it. I mean, I actually still have an answering machine at my house. So, you know, uh, in some ways, very much, I think I just wanted to stop the clock in the 90s. Okay. So that's just, that's just me. Um, Anyways, I think AI has its place. Nothing against people who use AI. I mean, I actually use AI for some things. Matter of fact, this Epic Conversions Monthly paid newsletter that I was telling you guys about, the way that newsletter is set up is I will like write the main article, the main point, the core of that, what that newsletter is going to be. The core of it gets written, and maybe it's like 2,000 words or something. It doesn't matter. The words don't matter. It's usually a nice chunky article, whatever I wanted to say. But then another part of that is something I'm kind of proud of that I put this together. It started out like I wanted to use AI in this, and I wanted it to interview me. I wanted to have AI read my article that I wrote and then have it like interview me, like from the standpoint of, okay, I want you to be an interviewer who asks me questions. And your whole thing is you are representing my market, right? So ask me questions you think they would want to know about, right? And the whole idea was that I could like provide a fuller picture, right? So you got the original article that covers what I want to cover. But then I got AI coming behind me, and then as I answer those interview questions, AI asks me 10 questions on the article, and as I answer those questions, it will create like a deeper level understanding for the topic I wanted to cover. So that interview gets included in that paid newsletter as well. But what happened was, then I started thinking, you know what would actually be better than that? Have it act as a as like a pressure tester, right? So like instead of it just like trying to represent my market and ask me questions that might pull out extra value, I told AI, I said, listen, I want you to read this article that I wrote as a skeptic. I want you to try to break my ideology, break my logic for what I wrote about. Do your worst, right? So the interview is like, it's so crazy. Like the interview, it's so good. It's like that was the best possible thing I could do. The best possible use of AI. Try to break my theories. Try to break my theories because they're not theories, because I actually do what I say I do. All right. So they're not theories. They are reality. They're real things that I do. So try to break them. Tell me what you think. So that was perfect. So I had AI interview me as a skeptic and ask me questions based off of, this idea that like, you don't necessarily believe in what I'm saying. So it was really good. It forced me to go a lot deeper in some of the things that I talked about in the article. So anyways, that pressure tester idea, I think, is a fantastic way to use AI, especially in the scope of like a paid newsletter where, you have this newsletter, you want to provide value for people. So you try to give them a good article on something and stuff like that. Okay, well, now why don't you pressure test it? Use AI to see if it can break your ideas and your concepts. See if it can. In my view, AI didn't break my concepts and my ideologies, which I really had no doubt that it would be able to. I didn't think that it could break my ideas because I've been using them for 10 years. So why would it be able to break them? It doesn't make sense to me. Uh, but it doesn't really matter that it didn't break my ideas. What matters is that it came at me exactly how someone in my market would come at me who was paying for my newsletter, who was in a bad mood because maybe things aren't going their way that day, and they're paying for my newsletter and they're trying to get real value out of it. So of course they're going to be skeptical. Of course they're going to be, having questions. So yeah, those were the exact kind of questions I liked. So the whole pressure tester thing, fantastic. I think that's a great use for AI. Personally, that's my opinion. Some people are really anti-AI, and they don't use it for anything. But me, I do lean towards anti-AI, but I do think this pressure tester thing that I've been using it for this paid newsletter, I think that's a good use for AI. Personally, that's my opinion. So, anyways, yeah. So, anyways, let me just to recap here: 3 things you can use that have made me a lot more money. 1, know your market. 2, know how you fit into the conversation that's happening in your market. And 3, learn how to leverage your assets. Okay. Learn how to get maximum benefit out of the things you create and the things that you do. Okay. That's what I would say. Even down to look at this live stream I'm doing right now. I'm doing this on Substack Live right now, but rest assured, this will be downloaded and I will put it on Facebook and I will put it on YouTube for extra juice, right? And then I'll take some of those shorts and I'll put them out there too, right? For extra juice, more bang for my buck. And it all came back to the credit card industry, you guys, just like what I told you. Okay. Take the one product, figure out how to make multiple. They used it for multiple income streams, but it's not just about money. Okay. Take something you create, figure out how to get more out of it. So you get a better ROI on your energy. You get a better ROI on your time invested. It's not just money. It's all these other things too. So anyways, look, I'm rambling on. I hope you guys are doing amazing. It is Friday. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Keep her between the ditches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Now, I ain't going to be here for tomorrow, guys. I'll be back Monday. God willing, I'll be back Monday to do another live stream for you. But if you're interested in what I was talking about with Epic Conversions monthly, just go to epicconversions.com, scroll down, Epic Conversions Monthly. You can find it there. And if you can't find it, you probably don't belong in my club. It's probably not for you. So anyways, look, that's all I got. You guys have yourself a freaking day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace now.